Welcome back. Today we're diving into something that might seem a little out there, but stick with me. We're going to be decoding the hidden meaning behind your most mundane, everyday tasks. And we'll be using this really fascinating framework called governance physics, which basically says that your daily actions, they aren't just actions. They're actually profound tests of your ability to manage or, govern energy and intention. Okay, we've all been here, right? You see this, and you just feel that wave of drudgery. It's the same feeling you get doing laundry or having to cook a meal after a long day. It's repetitive, nobody's throwing you a party for it, and honestly, it can feel like it just sucks the energy right out of you.
But what if I told you you're not just cleaning? What if you're actually decrypting a message? This explainer is all about a radical new way to look at these chores. It suggests that they are actually these incredible opportunities for personal development. Encrypted messages, designed specifically to test and grow your consciousness.
So, to really get our heads around this framework, we have to start with a pretty huge shift in perspective. We need to completely change how we define reality itself. It means looking past what's just physically in front of us.
The first big idea here is what's called the NAFS-centric universe, or NCU for short. This theory suggests that the reality you experience isn't some shared, objective thing. Instead, it's a personalized learning environment, a simulation chamber built just for you, for the development of your consciousness, or what the framework calls your NAFs. So your kitchen, it's not just a room, it's a training ground.
And this quote from cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman just nails it. Space-time is just a headset. His interface theory of perception basically argues that what we think of as the physical world isn't the real reality. The things we see, touch, and feel are more like desktop icons on a computer screen. They're simplified graphics that help us get things done, but they hide all the complex code running underneath.
And this slide right here really shows you the paradigm shift we're talking about. On the left, you've got the way we normally see things. A kitchen is a room, dirty dishes are a mess. Simple. But on the right, in the governance physics view, that kitchen is a simulation chamber, and those dirty dishes, they're desktop icons that have been rendered specifically to test you. It's a whole different ballgame. Okay, so if chores are really a test, how in the world do we pass it? How do we get the lesson that's hidden inside? Well, the framework offers a really practical method for this, and it's called the pomegranate protocol. Let's use this pomegranate as a metaphor to understand this. Now, when you want to get the good stuff out of a pomegranate, you don't eat the tough, bitter peel, right? Of course not. That's just the container. You have to press it to get to that sweet juice inside. A chore is exactly the same. The physical part, the scrubbing, the boredom, the repetition, that's just the peel. So the protocol breaks down into these 3 simple steps. First, you recognize the peel. That's the surface level stuff, the feeling of greasy water, the boring back and forth motion, and that little voice in your head saying, I hate this. Then comes the pressing. This is where you consciously apply your intention. You're not just cleaning, you're executing a system restoration protocol. And finally, you extract the juice. That's the hidden developmental value you get from the whole experience.
Now here's where it gets really fascinating. What exactly is in that juice? When you apply this protocol to your daily chores, the framework says you're developing 3 very specific, very powerful abilities within your own consciousness.
First up, you're literally learning how to master chaos. Think about it. A sink full of dirty dishes is a perfect example of high entropy. That's just the natural tendency of the universe to go from order to disorder. It's physics right there in your kitchen.
So, when you consciously wash those dishes, you're doing way more than just cleaning. You're acting as what the framework calls a Khalifa, which is like a steward or a guardian of your own little corner of the universe. You are deliberately using your authority to push back against that chaos and restore order. And every time you do that, you're training yourself in micro-governance, proving to the system that you're capable of managing energy and bringing things back into balance.
The second developmental arc is all about snapping out of autopilot. The source material for this actually references the work of researcher Dr. Joe Dispenza, who explains that something like 95% of our life is run by our subconscious program.
I mean, really think about it. The last time you were washing dishes, where was your mind? Were you replaying an argument you had yesterday, or were you stressing about a meeting you have tomorrow? If you were, you're essentially unconscious, just running on that autopilot program. The repetitive nature of the chore is basically a trigger for that hypnotic state. So the real test is, can you stay awake? Can you stay present?
So how do you actually do that? How do you break the spell?
Well, the framework suggests using a technique that Dr. Tara Swart calls neuroaesthetics. It's simple, really. You just intentionally focus on the sensory details. Actually, smell the soap. Feel the warmth of the water on your hands. Notice the texture of the sponge. When you do this, you pull your brain out of its default mode, and you train your consciousness, your naphs, to stay in a state of witnessing. And just like that, a boring chore becomes a powerful meditation.
Okay, now let's switch from cleaning to cooking, because this is where another amazing layer comes in. The final arc frames the act of preparing food not as just cooking, but as a kind of bioalchemy. You're literally transforming raw matter into something so much more valuable. To explain this, the framework uses this pretty powerful equation, which it calls the destiny engine. It's a way to describe how physical stuff can be converted into spiritual essence.
Let's break this down real quick. U is for utility. That's just the raw ingredients, the physical stuff you're starting with. Now D squared is your governance, and this is the game changer. It's the amplifier. It's your care, your intention, your genuine desire to nourish your family. And when you multiply them, you get E, the essence. The meal isn't just food anymore. It becomes fuel for the spiritual and productive capacity of everyone who eats it.
And this idea connects deeply with universal spiritual principles. For example, in the Quranic chapter of Al-Insan, it talks about giving for a higher purpose. The point here isn't to think of God in physical terms, but to act with an intention of seeking a state of being that is pleasing to God. You're transforming a physical act into a profound spiritual transfer of energy. So, let's pull all these threads together. We have the simulation, we have the pomegranate protocol, and we have these 3 hidden developmental arcs. What's the ultimate takeaway from this whole governance physics framework?
Well, the bottom line is this. Your daily tasks aren't burdens anymore. They're calibration tests. That messy kitchen is an encrypted packet of data, and it's challenging you. Can you apply the pressing protocol, that intentional action, to decode it? And if you can you generate order, focus, and real sustenance from it?
And that really reframes your entire day, doesn't it? Suddenly a traffic jam, a difficult conversation, even a boring meeting, they all become opportunities. They all become tests. It's a really powerful shift in perspective that pushes you to look for the hidden value in every single moment. So the real question is, what other parts of your daily simulation are you ignoring? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.